Our story starts off in late September of 1998, with Sloppy Joe the truck driver listening to the radio and eating his namesake, when the radio signal breaks up and Joe inflicts some gruesome, distracted driving on a woman walking out in the middle of nowhere. But this woman doesn't go on the kill count because she's a superhuman zombie. I say she's superhuman zombie because she's still in one piece and wasn't turned into a meat slurpee by the semi-truck. Which leads us to Leon, one of the heroes of our story, is now stopping off at a gas station just outside Raccoon City. While fueling, Leon notices that there seems to be nobody around. But there is, however, an Arkley Sheriff's car on scene with the door left open. Leon's rookie cop senses start tingling when he looks down and sees that there's a trail of blood. But unlike Barry Burton, only needs to look at it for 3 seconds before moving on. Walking inside, Leon notices that the power is out, and again, there appears to be nobody around. But he also finds a flashlight. Hey, free flashlight. Leon follows the blood trail to our first official number 1 on the kill count, this gas station clerk guy, who dies from a zombie bite on the neck. But he's helpful enough to give us a point in the right direction before he dies, which is right to number 2 on our kill count. Arkley Sheriff Daniel Cortini, who was turned into a human lunchable by a zombie. After a few well-placed headshots to the face, Leon walks out from the back room into a flood of zombies. Leon, making his way to the exit, runs into the second hero of our story, Claire, and for the only time in the entire game drops a zombie with a single headshot. They make a run for the sheriff's car, and luckily he still has the keys in it, and they drive off to what they think is safety. But we all know they are very, very wrong. After arriving in Raccoon City, our para-heroes is swarmed by zombies. They're about to back out of the horde until we get a cameo from our favorite truck driver, old Sloppy Joe himself. He's looking a little worse for wear, but Sloppy Joe slams full force into the police car, flipping his fuel truck on its side. That's where Sloppy Joe becomes our number 3 on the kill count in an off-screen death due to an explosion. I guess we could say Sloppy Joe was fully cooked. Okay, moving on. Leon walks into the RPD where it's quiet. A little too quiet.
It's Raph! Yeah, a little too Raph. You guys...
After looking at a weirdly high-quality video camera feed, I mean, really, look at this. This is back in 1998. There are security cameras today that don't look that good. But anyway, Leon heads to the east hallway to save camera guy. After crawling through a wet, sticky, bloody floor because the shutter's acting up, and walking past probably what would be the worst level in Viscera cleanup, we arrive at another hard-to-open shutter. This seems to be a thing in this place. While trying to pull the weird camera guy from underneath the shutter, he becomes number 4 on our kill count. This is Officer Elliot, who was torn in half like a movie ticket. But hey, free book. Leon makes his way back to the main hall, and this is the RPD, so 2 things that the RPD is not lacking are crappy shutters and zombies, and both become a big problem for Leon. But thankfully, Lieutenant Marvin comes to the rescue and crushes the zombie's head like Gallagher does to watermelons.
We're gonna start with the watermelon! Ah!
After saving Leon from a quite literal ankle biter, Marvin offers a bloody hand to help Leon get back on his feet. Okay. Needing a new outfit and some hand sanitizer maybe, Leon changes into his iconic RPD outfit that for some reason no other police officer in the entire place has the same uniform. Marvin gives Leon a knife and some advice.
Don't make my mistake. If you see one of those things, uniform or not, you do not hesitate. You take it out, or you run. Got it?
Then Leon walks over to another shutter and says the iconic line from the trailer.
This is not how I imagined my first day.
After walking down a long dark hallway, we come across one officer whose face got turned into lasagna, and another officer who's just hanging out. But these 2 won't go on the kill count because we don't see what happens to them until Resident Evil 3, After exploring a little bit more, Leon gets a radio call from Marvin, telling him that there's something he needs to see. After returning to Marvin, he shows Leon another weirdly high-definition video on a Windows 98-based laptop. After hearing a helicopter crash into the side of the building and finding Claire, the two have a short yet slightly flirtatious conversation, and nobody seems to give a flying fuck about the chopper pilot Pete. That's what I'm going to call him. Which is why he ends up as number 5 on our count via death from explosion. The explosion was basically a dinner bell, and the better couple have to split up for a second time. That's right, I said it. Fuck you, Ada. After finding more puzzle pieces and unlocking Chief Iron's secret underground sex dungeon, Leon wakes up Marvin in his final conversation with him, Marvin saying it's too late for him and pulls a gun on Leon, telling him to just go on ahead. And since this is the final time we see Marvin alive, he becomes number 6 on our silly little kill count, dying from viral infection. Fuck you, Brad. After getting into another elevator and going down because this is a Resident Evil game, you run into this really weird looking dude named William Birkin. The guy with the worst case of skin herpes I've ever seen. After burning through 90% of your ammo on this literal definition of an ammo dump boss, he joins Lisa Trevor in falling down in Resident Evil. They're never-ending black pits that just go nowhere. But, as we all know, this is Resident Evil, and
He'll be back.
after climbing up to the parking lot and walking over to another needlessly complicated shutter, Leon gets a visit from Chewie the infected police dog. A gunshot stops this bad boy from taking a bite out of crime. The shadow lady tells Leon to look out, and Leon double taps little poor Chewie. After a short standoff, we find out the shadow lady has a fake FBI badge and her name is Ada Wong. After a few snarky words, Ada triple taps Chewie, poor dog. I'm convinced this dog is half Terminator at this point. Ada walks off and Leon follows, not finding her but finding a hipster reporter named Ben. Ben was locked into a cell by Chief Irons, and Leon refuses to set Ben free. Leon has a problem. He needs to get that shutter open, he needs a key. Ben has the key. And just as Leon is about to reconsider, X gonna give it to Ben and punches a hole through the wall, grabbing Ben and crushing his head, popping his eyeball out. That makes Ben number 7 on our count. And arguably the most gruesome kill of the entire Resident Evil franchise, at least in my opinion. After solving the pointless puzzle and getting the key card, just as Leon enters the main parking area, Mr. X Kool-Aid Mans his way through the wall and gets Leon in a David Carradine-esque chokehold. Ada, Terminator 2's Mr. X back through the Kool-Aid Man-sized hole in the wall. Just as Mr. X is about to get a second wind, he starts to push the SWAT truck away. An explosion rings out, and Ada and Leon make like a tree and leave. See, I could say it right. After getting to street level, Ada pulls a Jill Valentine and breaks out a lockpick, breaking into Kendo's gun shop. But Kendo doesn't enjoy these late night intruders, so gets into a 3-way standoff, and just before everybody reenacts their favorite scene from the Desperados, Robert Kendo's daughter walks into the trio. Kendo, not wanting his daughter to suffer from the infection, takes her inside, asking for privacy. In the middle of Ada and Leon's argument, a gunshot is heard, and through this off-screen, thankfully off-screen, we can assume that Robert Kendo mercy kills his daughter, and then presumably himself. So we're going to add 2 very depressing numbers to our count. Ada and Leon move on to the mandatory sewer level and get their first sight of Herman, the snake's bigger, hungrier cousin, Mater the Gator. Even after seeing this, Leon literally jumps feet first into Mater the Gator's sewer, and Mater gives chase to Leon, nipping at his heels, and for some reason, Leon must either have the best grips on his shoes or he's fueled by pants-shitting fear, because he actually can run really fast in waist-high water, outrunning the Jurassic Park-sized gator. But just before the gator gets to enjoy his midnight snack, Leon rides the world's most disgusting slip and slide, and Mater the gator bites down on a gas line, and Leon says, "You want stars? I'll give you stars." Again, I know that's Resident Evil 3. Ada, for some reason, didn't have to go through all the shit and piss, and lowers a ladder down to Leon. I don't know why we didn't take the same path that she took, but, you know, hey, video game's got a video game, I guess. After a small, short conversation, we run into the world's worst mother, Annette Birkin. After Ada pulls a gun on her and demands a sample of the G-Virus, Annette turns a zombie into an infected barbecue distraction. Ada gives chase, Annette opens fire, and Leon, being ever the hero, takes a bullet, saving Ada. Ada returns fire, but since she suffers from stormtrooper-itis, misses every shot. Ada patches up Leon and lets the poor guy sleep off his gunshot wounds, and she gives chase to Annette. But Annette is a master of the board game Mousetrap and locks Ada inside an incinerator. Ada uses her Ex Machina tech gun to set herself free. Ada gives chase once more, but Annette wants to play a different game called Whack-A-Mole. Ada somehow pulls an Action Jackson and finds her way to safety. After escaping from Annette, falls asleep in a pile of trash with a broken shard stuck in her leg. I hope you got your tetanus shot, Ada. Leon wakes up from his bullet-induced nap. He searches for Ada, finding her behind a locked door. And to unlock it, you need to solve a needlessly complex chess puzzle. Imagine being the locksmith in Raccoon City. That would be the shittiest job ever. I mean, shittier than the shit you just ran through to get away from the big-ass gator. Leon, before going off to find the puzzle pieces, puts in a tape for movie hour. Tape is a shoulder cam of an Umbrella merc watching as a infected William Birkin gives his buddy a bloody high five, and after doing so, William Birkin walks over and curb stomps the camera, adding 2 more to our count. After the movie, Leon goes off to find the bullshit chess puzzle pieces, and after finding the final one, old Billy Birkin himself shows up and, just like his wife, enjoys a good old game of Whack-A-Mole. You're stuck in a room, and this is yet another ammo dump boss fight. After besting the herpes monster on his own game, you gotta run from Birkin until he comes to a platform that seems to have no other purpose other than to knock big-ass monsters off of the platform you're standing on. And, well, that's what you do. You knock him down the first time, you push the button again, and you knock him off completely. And he falls down yet another Lisa Trevor-esque bottomless pit. Leon finally finds Ada and does what he's been wanting to do since he met her and pulls out. Leon and a limping Ada get on a super secret tram that goes to an underground lab because Resident Evil's got a Resident Evil, yo. The RPD apparently hires people only who have an incredible incapability of critical thinking because Leon doesn't even question how Ada, an FBI agent, has a digital wristband that enables the super secret tram to work. Ada sees Leon's attention boner and decides to use him as a pawn, sending him off to get the sample all on his own. Manipulating the rookie cop with a kiss because the power of boners, I guess. Leon finds another tape in the nest, and this tape shows the Umbrella recovery team led by Mr. Death himself, Hunk. The Umbrella team shoots the ever-loving shit out of William Birkin, who is number 12 on our list. And yes, I know, he's still running around, but he only saves himself with the virus, a lot like Albert Wesker. So the human form of William Birkin will be number 12 on our list. Leon finds the G sample and removes it from the housing, and what could be seen as an oversight by the engineers or maybe an overreaction by the Nest AI, it goes into self-destruction mode because, again, Resident Evil has to Resident Evil. Leon tries to make his way back to Ada with the sample, but is stopped by a bigger, badder version of Billy Herpes Birkin himself. Annette comes out of nowhere and shoots an acid round from a flare gun for some reason. And just when the monster looks to be down and out, Annette forgets to double tap him because everyone forgets to double tap. But she still has enough time to go through a flashback sequence where we find out that yes, Birkin purposely, in his final moments, infected himself with his own G-Virus, transforming him into the monster that you've been dumping all your ammo into every time you see him. But William's still going to stay on the count because the G-Virus essentially turned him into a separate being. As the story ends, the herpes monster wakes up just in time, And what will be the last incident of domestic violence, Birkin tosses his wife, also Birkin, into the wall. And that must have given him enough XP because William Birkin levels up and gets a 4th arm. Annette lowers you and her herpes-ridden husband into a lower level for another ammo dump boss fight. Her excuse for this is,
Can't let him get away!
like he's unable to jump or climb or whatever he did to get here in the first place. After fighting him for a really long time and dodging fuel tanks that have homing technology for some reason, you drop the monster again. After riding a mini elevator back up to Annette, she says what anyone with half a brain has already been thinking.
You trust that bitch?
After catching up with Ada, who somehow made it to the escape platform without a problem apparently, Ada asks Leon if he got the sample, and instead of lying, he tells her the truth. After asking to verify, Leon finally snaps out of his boner daze and gets in a standoff with Ada. Finally. But since Leon still likes Ada for some reason, and some way knows that with the power of the boner, Ada won't shoot him, even offering to allow her to do so, but for some magic story reason, Ada doesn't give in and shoot Leon like probably anybody would in her position. For some magic story reason, Ada doesn't give Leon another bullet hole, and out of nowhere, Annette fires a bullet from the movie You Want It, because somehow it bends around Leon and hits Ada in the shoulder, before succumbing to her injuries and becoming number 13 on her list. Ada falls over the rail, getting saved by Leon at the last second. The employees at Capcom really think we like Ada and try to give us a touching moment, but Leon says fuck you bitch and lets Ada fall down the shaft from Star Wars. Leon moves on and gets on the elevator and goes down because, again, Resident Evil. After walking into a small control room, Leon sees the girl that should be his soulmate, and she's on the escape platform too. Leon, not wanting to let another pretty girl escape through his fingers, pushes onto the train. But it's been a few hours since we've seen the Mr. X Kool-Aid Man, and he makes an appearance and chases Leon as the entire place is exploding all around them. Leon gets on another elevator and goes down again. Seeming to have gotten away, another explosion happens, and now a half-naked Mr. X wants to hitch a ride on Leon's elevator. After wasting all of your remaining ammo and nothing happens, Ada, somehow still alive, and somehow finds a rocket launcher and slides it down to Leon. Leon absolutely rocks Mr. X with a nasty rocket to the belly button, leaving only Lieutenant Dan's legs.
Well, you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, I know that.
You make it down to the lower platform, with the train already moving because apparently Claire says fuck you Leon, and started the train anyway. Leon hops on one of the last few cars, pulling himself up with his only good remaining arm. After saying he misses Ada, even though he only knew her for 2 hours and she lied to him the entire time, Leon tosses the Umbrella digital bracelet off the train. I really hope you didn't need that again, dude. Thankfully he didn't. Leon walks into the main car and finds his true love, Claire Redfield, and a surprisingly nice child, given how shitty her parents are. Their reunion is interrupted by the fourth passenger. A Cronenberg wet dream version of William Birkin has seemed to hitch a ride on the last train. Our pair of heroes go to take care of the big shiny bastard. Leon kicks the train car loose, and Claire jabs the ugly fucker right in his giant ass eyeball before watching the herpes meatball get completely singed and become the final kill on our kill count. William Birkin, the G-Monster Cronenberg form. Now safe from their hellish experience, Leon, Claire, and Sherry walk down an empty road before seeing a truck driving towards them in the distance. Leon tells Claire and Sherry to get out of there. Leon, taking a defensive stance, thinking that maybe it's another infected truck driver, but no, he just gets flipped off by Sloppy Joe's trucker brother. And the story of Resident Evil 2 ends with Claire going off to find her brother Chris, and Leon and Sherry being picked up by the BSAA.
We have the authority to do as we please with you. You and that girl.
Just leave her out of this. She's an innocent.
An innocent who carries the G antibody. Don't worry. We're taking very good care of her. Bottom line is, you have the experience we're looking for. So if you want this to end peacefully, you really have only one choice. Work for us.